Well, for more analysis on the EU oil sanctions on Iran, let's check in with Phil in D.C. Phil.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. We're going to have more analysis by Raymond Tanter, co-founder of the Iran Policy Committee, who also worked at the White House as well under Reagan and Bush. Welcome to the show. Let's talk about the situation with Iran. There's a couple things I think international viewers would like to know. Number one, this has been an issue that has been growing over the past couple of years, so this isn't anything new. But in terms of the international viewer, how should they view this?
Well, I think the international scene should look at Iran as what I call a rogue regime, one that plays outside the normal rules of international discourse. For example, if you sign a treaty committing yourself to certain kinds of rules, inspections, for example, you should not allow for certain kinds of materials to come into your country.
Should the Western world be tougher on Iran, or should they wait and be patient and let the sanctions play out?
Well, I think the Western countries have to be tougher in order for Iran to comply.
What more can they do?
Well, one of the things they could do, the Western world could recognize, well, the United States in particular, could recognize the Iranian opposition groups that are now on the U.S. Foreign Terrorist Organizations list. One is called the National Council of Resistance of Iran.
But if we take that step, would some consider, especially on the international side, as the United States perhaps going maybe where they shouldn't go?
No, I think that the Iranian regime is already of the mind that the United States is trying to change its regime. But in fact, Washington is not trying to change the regime. I think a strong signal has to be sent to the regime that it cannot stay in power oppressing its people any longer, threatening Israel, threatening the West.
Before we went on the air, you brought up a couple interesting points regarding China and how they've been exempted from some of these sanctions, and it's quite interesting. So I want to hear it from you, and you could share with our viewers what you told us about the exemption process.
Right. 20 nations now have been excluded from or given a waiver by the United States from getting punishment as a result of continuing to import oil from Iran. China increased its imports of Iranian oil in May, and is expected to do. The numbers are coming in now for June and July. But China got a waiver. Why did China get the waiver?
Well, that's the big question.
I think because China is is the American largest creditor. And would you be punishing your creditor? No. That's one of the reasons. And the other reason is that the United States needs Iran in order to continue to pressure, it needs China in order to continue to pressure Iran on the nuclear file. And China needs Syria to counter Russia it needs China to counter Russia on Syria.
And this is why we have experts like you on to help clarify some of these very complex issues. Very interesting point, by the way, regarding why China gets the exemption. Thank you very much for your analysis.
My pleasure.